More news on all of these deportations that President Trump has decided to do, which I would just like to say the American people voted him in to, of course, accomplish, among many other things. And you've got now the Supreme Court that over the weekend temporarily blocked President Trump's deportations that he, of course, was doing using the Alien Enemies Act. You had Justices Alito and Thomas dissenting, were the only dissenters, which, it's like I want to be very careful with my words here. I don't expect Supreme Court judges to make their decisions based on any sort of loyalty that they have for the president who puts them to that position. But it does feel like the opposite is happening, and they've got it out for him. For whatever reason, we definitely know Amy Coney Barrett does, just based off of her reaction whenever she sees him. It's like a visceral reaction that she has. But they had this dead of night ruling, 12:55 a.m. Eastern on Friday, and they paused the deportations of all of these gang members. And Justices Thomas and Alito dissented, saying there was no hearing, there was no lower court ruling, there was no opportunity for the government to respond, there was no explanation provided. And Alito really put them on full blast, slamming the majority for violating the court's own Rule 23.3, which requires seeking relief in lower courts first. So you've got this bizarre turn of events happening with the Supreme Court. And so what that means is Kagan, Sotomayor, Jackson, thank you, plus Coney Barrett, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh. Mm-hmm. Am I missing any? Yeah, Tom and Chief Justice Roberts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All of them, all agreed that the highest executive in the entire country should not have the ability to remove illegal criminals from our country. That's wild. That is wild to me.
Is it just me, or when that ruling came down, well, number one, it's completely wild. And no, we don't want some allegiance between a chief justice and a president, but good night, gunning for the guy, because the other side don't play that way.
Mm-hmm. No.
There's allegiance. I mean, you think Sotomayor and
you're right. I guess that's why it bothers me.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. They are blatantly
1,000%.
Blatantly on brand.
Yeah.
They do not break brand.
Right.
And you think Ketanji Brown, that woman sat there and told you she doesn't know what a woman is. I mean, come on. In her hearing. No, but didn't it strike you as a gross undermining of the judicial system, but more so giving rights to illegal immigrants that Americans have in lower court? Your right to be innocent until proven guilty is an American right. You're an American citizen. That's not a right for some Australian that ends up here, or a kid from Guatemala. You don't have a First, Second, Third Amendment. You don't have, these rights. You're not a citizen. And so to say that go to the lower courts and go make your case in the lower courts are not here for them.
Yeah.
There's a president of the United States that's elected by the American people to say those who are not here, especially violent gang members, by the way. I loved it when he tweeted out the tattoos on the guy's knuckles. He's like, oh, he's not a gang member. Well, what are these suckers?
Yeah. They're like, we're not sure if he's a gang member. He's just got his knuckles tattooed to have MS-13 on his freaking knuckles. But I'm sure that's just a coincidence.
It's
very common, Jaco.
What other rights are being extended then? What other rights are being extended to? And then you look at states like California, every right, Social Security, the right to vote, it goes on and on and on. And so I just remind people, we don't have a lot of time left under this administration.
You're not wrong.
This feels like a play for time. This just undermine him, block him, do this. I mean, it's blocking and tackling at this point.
Yeah, I think we have a very interesting issue here. And my take on it is that, as you said, Sarah, we have the left does what the left does, right? Like they are lockstep with the powers that be, the people that are doing these social justice moves. And then what we have is we have a bunch of intellectuals, and this is where I think the problem is. The amount of times I've sat down and I've seen intellectuals look at something. They did this with Obamacare, don't forget. They look at something and they go, oh, we're so smart, so we're going to look at this and there's a different way. I'm interpreting it this way. Look how smart I am. It's almost like, if you like, the Instagram generation, right? Where I've got to do something to make myself be more important. And I think they look at these things, because think about it, all these, they're apart from Thomas, and, we know what he was like before. But the others are relatively new, right? They're within the last few years, right? But the older guys are like, no, this is the way it is. And it feels to me like the other justices are trying to show how smart they are. I don't even think it's to do with not liking Trump. I do think it's to do with we are more elite than you are. You think you know, but we know better. Because we see this all day long, like all the time, the snobbery towards this, like, oh, you think that deportation is just about this, but let me tell you, it's way more complicated than that. And we're seeing on almost every issue. What are your qualifications coming here, Pete Hegseth? Why are you up there? We need a general. Again, it's all about credentialism and elitism. Mm-hmm. And they don't like the fact that, by the way, don't forget, what did Trump just go after? Harvard University.
Mm. Yeah, it's the establishments. But look, you're right, 100%. The elitism is there, and it is in the self-proclaimed elitism, right, of who they are. But it's always at the expense of the American people.
Always. Always.
Right.
You don't see the Supreme Court fighting for an American citizen. Like, come on now. Justices taking position from the bench. It's a slippery slope. It's a gray area, man. The law's supposed to be blind, and there's still a law. We have immigration law that passes through Congress, right? Congress sets immigration law. There's rights that this president, or any president for that matter, apparently the previous guy could open the borders and let anybody
he wanted,
in,
he could.
But this guy can't get anybody out.
Right.
Because the brand that they're leaning towards is not actually a pro-America, pro-Constitution, pro the laws of the country brand. And we have to come to grips with this. 7-2, that's a landslide.
That is scary.
Do you remember when we used to say, well, they might be pressured into it by the threat of violence? Because that was one of the things we thought about a few years ago.
With the job territory, though, buddy. Don't take the job. Don't be a Supreme Court justice if you can't take the hit in the kitchen.
100%, but we haven't seen that right now. No. It's not like that. They're in the most pro-American, pro-America first era that I can remember. Yeah. And yet they're doing something like this, which is completely off tone for what we're going through right now.
Well, and I will say the most frustrating part of all of this is, I agree with you guys, the courts and the judges are a problem. The judges that Congress could be doing something about, obviously they can't do anything about the Supreme Court judges. Well, I guess technically you could impeach, but that would be a much larger process. Congress has been out nearly 50 of Trump's first 100 days. And so they could dissolve the whole court districts, right? By repealing the act that brought them into existence. They can limit jurisdiction, including that of the Supreme Court. So there are things that they could be doing that they just aren't. And that's the most frustrating part of it, is that I agree with you. The Democrats are completely tone deaf, that they're like, we're gonna get on a plane and fly to El Salvador because this poor illegal gang member has been thrown in prison in the place where he came from, which is so hilarious. It's like, he sent him home. You're welcome. Yeah. But it's not just the Democrats. It's also these Republicans led by Speaker Mike Johnson, who have had plenty of opportunity now. Next week is going to be 100 days. Next week, they've had plenty of opportunity to say, not only did they try to destroy President Trump's reputation before he came into office, they are now trying to destroy his legacy and the agenda that he is supposed to implement, that Americans just voted him in to implement. And that Congress still won't do anything. What the hell did we give them power for in the first place? If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.